So, you want to hear about jury duty, huh? Hello everyone, it is I, Dylan Bethard, back to give you an update to my jury duty story. This time it's going to be uncensored and I'm going to tell all about it. I was actually quite surprised on how much interest my videos received. People would stop me if they'd see me in public and they would inquire about it. And that was actually pretty cool because I find it super interesting. But something tells me some of you are going to be disappointed. Maybe I hyped it up too much. I found it very interesting, but I'm not sure all of you will. But without further ado, let's jump into my week at jury duty. And actually, before we start, I'm going to get this out of the way. That intro was not a bit. I am eating because I am legitimately hungry. I came home and started filming, so I just wanted to get that detail out of the way. Okay, so the case that I was dealing with was a medical malpractice suit. It was a woman by the name of Trisha suing DMH. So back in 2011, Trisha went to DMH and for a hysterectomy. What was performed was a single site laparoscopic hysterectomy. And what happened was when they were sewing up her vaginal cuff after they removed all the stuff you removed during hysterectomy, the lady bits, she was sewn together with non-absorbable sutures instead of the ones that are absorbable and dissolve in the body. So she was sewn together with permanent sutures, and that caused a lot of issues in her life, as her as a plaintiff said that. And so that was her suing DMH. DMH's case, their rebuttal was that the surgeon, who is employed by them, but they were saying that the surgeon is the one who should be sued because ultimately maybe he was given the wrong sutures by DMH, but him as the suture, he's the one who's the pilot, he's controlling the vehicle, he's the one who's more trained than the surgical techs or the scrub techs or the circulating nurses, and so he should have been skilled enough and knowledgeable enough to know that he was given the wrong sutures and they are not at fault. So those are the two sides. It's like a mini version. Those are the two sides, and that was the case that I was dealing with. And so the crazy thing about this is this was back in 2011. Her first surgery happened in 2011, and then there was a full year of ER visits, going to the doctors, not figuring out anything, what was wrong. There was another surgery where they figured out there were sutures still inside her that was done at the Vita Clinic, and that didn't go so well. And then there was a third and final surgery that removed all the sutures out. But that went from 2011 to 2012. I believe depositions started in 2012, and then now to 2019, there's an actual trial. And so it was kind of crazy that it just took so long for everyone to get to this point. But maybe that's just the legal system. Okay, so day one, we're headed into the courtroom. I was the first of 28 people to be selected. They chose 2 juries with 14 people, 12 regular and 2 alternatives for each group. And then the plaintiff and the defendant's lawyers were asking us questions, trying to figure things out. The DMH lawyers had this big whiteboard with sticky notes on it. Anytime someone would give an answer, everyone was just writing stuff down. It was actually funny to watch the DMH lawyers because you would answer a question and they were just like boom, 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 like hitting all these Post-it notes. And it was like watching some grandma on a Friday evening with like 7 different bingo cards. They call the number and boom, 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 boom. It was actually pretty impressive to watch. But that was the first day. And then later in the afternoon, we were actually selected. And they told us they had not anticipated picking a jury so quickly. And so they were just like, now it's time to start the trial. Okay. And actually, before I forget, so during the jury selection process, there actually was objections that were given while they were questioning us. And I don't know anything about the legal system as far as this sense, but I'm just like, I didn't know there could be objections when you're trying to select the jury. Extremely fascinating, and I thought it started out on a good first note. They started off by giving their opening arguments. That was cool and whatnot, but because the defense had more witnesses to call and they were working on their schedule, they said it was weird, but they actually allowed the defense to present all of their evidence first, which is normally the opposite way around. Plaintiff, then defendant. And so we got a lot of testimonies and stuff from DMH staff that would have came in later. So one of the crazy things about this is that there was depositions given back in 2012, and then the same people from 2012 are on the stand giving us their testimony today. So one of the things that started off not looking good is that everyone who testified for DMH said something totally different in the courtroom that day than they had back in 2012. So back in 2012, they basically, the staff members basically admitted fault under the standard of care. So our job was to figure out, was standard of care broken by DMH? And according to according to all these people from 2012 and their depositions, they said, it was clear that standard of care was breached. So, the first 2 days was all of their witnesses, and so I felt like it started off on a bad foot for them. But of course, you have to keep an open mind. 217 foundational move to strike. I will remember that forever. So the defense's lawyer was objecting very frequently to the judge, and so plaintiff's lawyer would say something, and then the defense lawyer would be, objection, Your Honor, 217 foundational move to strike. That was happening so often. It was very exciting at first, but then after a while, it got old because the lawyers, both sets of lawyers and the judge would have to leave, have a sidebar off the record, not in front of the jury, and then they'd have to come back. Sometimes it was a minute, sometimes it was like 3 or 4 minutes. By the end of the case, he had done this over 20 times. There's one day he did it like 13 or 14 times. So over half of those were just in one setting. So that was probably the longest day because of the objections. But it was super exciting. You're watching these lawyers, both very passionate about their cases. It was very fun to watch these people kind of go back and forth. And of course, the slamming of fists in the name of justice. You can't forget that. But it was very exciting. So that was basically our full week of hearing from witnesses, hearing the evidence that was presented. And I'll be honest, we're supposed to keep an open mind, but I was going back and forth constantly because, like I said, the defense started off not looking good. Well, then the plaintiffs brought something or the defendants brought something, and it was just like constantly back and forth. You were like, there was one day I remember they brought in a witness who was a surgeon. He basically threw the doctor under the bus, and it looked pretty damning for the plaintiffs. And I'm like, holy cow, did we just figure it out? But it was just constantly back and forth all week. And the worst part is that we couldn't tell anybody about it. Every time they dismissed us, the judge, who was a super cool dude, Rodney Forbes, I believe his name was, that dude was chill as heck. Like, I want to barbecue with that man on the weekends. Rodney, if you're seeing this, let's barbecue. I'm totally down to do it. Anytime, anywhere, you let me know. Let's barbecue together. You're a cool dude. I can't believe I did that. Hey, maybe it'll work out. And so every time we left, he would have to give us admonishments, I believe that's how you say it, and telling us you can't talk to anybody. This is very important civil duty. You can't research anything. You can't go to where it happened. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And so, but it was very clear we were not allowed to talk to anybody. So I couldn't share explicit details about the case. And that was very hard for me because obviously I like to talk, but I'm a groupthink person. I like to bounce ideas off of people and kind of work together to figure things out. And I couldn't do that. There is even one point, maybe this is bad to tell, but there's even one point. My friend Sarah, she's a licensed counselor, okay? So we were having a conversation one night, and I said, Sarah, can I Venmo you $1? And if so, does that legally make you my therapist? Thus, our privileges are invoked so that you can't tell anybody what I talked about, i.e., can I tell you about this case and I won't get in trouble? Which I know, I really shouldn't have. But this was like day 4. I'm still like not sure what side, because we have to make the decision. I'm not sure what side is going to, which side's going to get my vote. And so I basically was trying to bribe Sarah with a payment so that she'd be my official therapist. And yeah, that didn't work. She said it would be unethical. It was a smart choice. She's a smart individual. That's why I have her as my friend. But that's how desperate I was. It was hard not talking about this. And you shouldn't. For anyone who's going to do jury duty, you should not talk about it. You need to figure that out for yourself. But I just want you guys to know the great lengths I was getting ready to go to be able to talk about it. And so when it's time for deliberations, this was day 4 on the evening for us. So it was very difficult because it was hard because we had kind of already established that both sides were in the wrong. On the plaintiff side, they were in the wrong in the sense that Dr. Pfeiffer royally screwed up. And I honestly think he should get sued. Like him personally should get sued because he was the surgeon. He has the most medical knowledge out of everyone who was in that operating room. He requested sutures for this device that he used that weren't even compatible. And at the end of the day, he's the one who sewed her up with these incorrect sutures, where every other person that we talked to, including one surgeon and 2 people who teach this surgery, that he should have known about it. They make sutures by certain colors so that it's not a FDA standard or something, but green are non-absorbable, purple are absorbable, and he sewed her up with the green ones. Yeah, he was given the wrong one, but he had at least 5 different opportunities to recognize that he was given the wrong product and he could have changed it. And he didn't, and I really think he messed up. And so that was how they messed up on that side. And on the DMH side, we had that, back in 2012, I spoke earlier about the contradictions, they all stated, the lady who was in charge of these people over all of the surgery people, and I mean, she was over all this stuff, she stated back in 2012 that the standard of care dictated that if one of the technicians were to realize that the doctor was using the wrong sutures, they should speak up and say something. Not in a challenge sense, but more of just information. Since all of the scrub tech, the circulating nurse, at least the circulating nurse, she's the one who stated specifically that she was aware that not only did Dr. Pfeiffer never use non-absorbable sutures for hysterectomies, she didn't know of any surgeon who used non-absorbable sutures in hysterectomy, but she still gave it to him because her thing was that it wasn't her place to challenge him or to say anything because he could use it for something different, but she didn't speak up. And so if we go by the standard of care set back in 2012, DMH messed up. And so we sat back and forth talking about this. One guy had a pro-cons list, who messed up more. And we weren't getting anywhere because it wasn't to decide who messed up more. 1 point, 1 point to DMH, 2 points to the plaintiff. It doesn't work like that. Our job was to figure out, was DMH at fault? And so we didn't figure that out first day. So Friday morning we get in and I kind of have a little pep talk. I told him it was going to feel like a closing argument because it really was. I stated, hey, we're going back and forth. It's not productive to our dime, not conducive to us getting out of here. Here's who I'm voting for and why. And I was saying that I think DMH was at fault. Was the doctor at fault? Sure is. I hope he gets sued. But that's not what we were there to decide. That was a different case. So given all those reasons, I said DMH is at fault and they get my vote. So we deliberated for a few more hours and then we all unanimously decided that DMH was at fault and was just kind of up to us now to determine how much money that they get for compensation. Because I was not aware that we were the ones who decided how much money the people get until the judge dismissed us and gave us the packets and talked about it before he dismissed us. But I was not aware. So at that point we decided that it was indeed DMH, so how much money do they get from there? And I forgot to mention how awesome this group of jurors were. There were 14 of us, and then when it came time for deliberations, they dismissed the alternate jurors. But this 12 group was a great group of people. There was no one who's obnoxious. There was no one who we didn't get along with. We all meshed well, and it was actually very fun to hang out with all these people. Like during the part when the lawyer was doing his 217's move to strike, we all would kind of look at each other. I actually wrote on the back of one of my pages 217 move to strike, and at every time he would do that, I actually held it up like one of those UFC number girls, and I was just like 217 move to strike. I actually was probably kind of pushing my luck on getting thrown out of the courtroom, but it's me. Now I will say the only frustrating thing, the only I went head to head with someone was the person we elected to be the head of our jury committee was towards the end, she had made a statement that I really had issues with, and maybe this is bad, I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but she had made a statement that she did not want to give these people too much money because if so, then insurance would go up, cost of services would go up, and basically us Joe Blows of the world would be paying for it. And I had issue with that because we are not supposed to factor that into our line of thinking. We cannot and should not. We're only supposed to factor in the evidence that was presented to us in the courtroom. And so I challenged her on that, and I was basically told that it should be a factor, and because of how young I am, I'm not looking at the big picture. And I really didn't like that. That was probably my only point of this entire case where I was just like, screw this. Because I mean, I was the youngest person there, probably by like 6 years maybe. Just because I'm young doesn't mean that I can't have a valued or informative opinion, nor was I incorrect about what I was saying.
He's a liar, don't believe him.
Okay, back to what I was saying before Jeremy interrupted me. But really though, just because of how young I am able to have informative decisions, and I can see the big picture. And I felt like that was really rude and disrespectful to me as a young individual, but also I think maybe it was because she knew I was right, because I asked her, can you make this decision unbiasedly? You know, can you have an unbiased decision? And she couldn't answer the question and just kind of came at me. And so that was my only point that I really didn't care for, didn't like at all, didn't appreciate. But other than that, this was a phenomenal week. They told me I can't get called again for another 3 years, and that stinks because I want to go back. I really had a great time. I can only hope that federal jury duty calls my name again, because they called me once, I had to defer, but jury duty people in Urbana, or I think it's in Urbana, call me. I am happy to come. It was so exciting. I just want to do this all the time now. Maybe I should be a lawyer. Maybe maybe I should be a lawyer. Okay, folks, so that was my jury duty saga. For some of you, probably a letdown, as I suspected. Others, maybe that was informative. Maybe you need more information. Always happy to get it. I just wanted to make this video short. I don't know how short it's going to be. I was hoping like 5 minutes. This was probably going to be like 10. But that was my story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for entertaining me, and I'll see you next time.